Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So thank you so much for the people who responded by telling me what their one word would be to sort of represent their year. And I had said that last year for mine, it was being accountable, and for this year, I changed it to balance and trying to find balance. And so I'm going to be talking about that at times, including this talk. And of course, I will include the article that I'm going to reference in the description of this video. And thank you so much to a few of you who actually said what your words were, from peace, which is just such a gift in life, to dynamic. I love that, just being dynamic. And so let me show you, this article is called, "There Must Be Balance in All Things, True or False? If so, why?" Oh, that's such an excellent question. Why do we need to find balance? And I kind of get that in the sense that if I'm going for broke on an assignment or trying to do an objective, and I am absolutely excelling in that moment, in that area, and other things in my life are falling to the wayside or being neglected, it's not balanced, but it's not criminal either. I can turn around as soon as that objective is done and kind of pick up the pieces, but it's not ideal, and that's kind of where I'm at. So this article is so interesting, and it says, balance is a point within every structure that is temporary due to the fact that creative movement is fluid and potential is limitless. So you may have balance for a moment, but because life is fluid and going to be moving, that balance cannot be sustained. There's like no way. So it says all points of balance in the creation are temporary, with one exception. I love this. One frequency of consciousness. And I totally get that. I mean, we come into the planet as little tiny babies with a consciousness, a soul with an energy, literally. That's why they can use paddles to boost the body, right? So there's a consciousness, and we carry that throughout our life. And if you have the faith and believe that you go on to the next realm, certainly the heavenly realm, then you know that that consciousness or soul continues to stream into the next existence. And if you have an incredible prayer life like I do, you understand that you can actually call on the consciousness of those who have gone before us, which is awesome. And you can certainly pray for little people who are going to enter the world, like when we pray for little babies who aren't even here yet. So it says, therefore, we, our bodies, minds, emotions, and lives, our world, this universe, all express incremental, so at points, of balance, which build upon to achieve a greater potential. We are forever willed, so drawn towards, forever willed towards the embracing of greater potential. The Yin and Yang symbol, and in fact, I'll use that as a description for this video. The Yin and Yang symbol beautifully illustrates the principles of chaos with order and order with chaos. You know, I was thinking of the Australian fires right now, and I saw a visual that showed the California fires, which of course were devastating. You know, the last 2017, 2018, and of course the ones we've since had, but really devastating. And it showed the California fires being this big. And then it showed, I'm trying to think who else's fires. There's been so many fires, but when it got to Australia, like it was bigger than the width, like the length of my hand. I can't even make it how big it was compared to California, which was a total reality check. But what I read was another truth, which is the indigenous people of Australia, so the original people, much like the Maoris of New Zealand and the, oh gosh, we don't call them American Indians anymore. Sorry, what are they called? Natives, thank you. I want to be politically correct. The Native Americans here. So the indigenous people, those who are native to Australia, used to intentionally let the forest burn. They would let the forest burn and burn off all the brush because they knew that that promoted life and maintained the forest over time. And then they said when the white man came, They were so concerned about their crops and about their, animal grazing and everything else that they didn't allow them to do that natural burning process. And here nature is stepping in going, hey, you guys didn't honor me, and I am burning and burning. And as scary as it is, and it's very scary if you've been seeing the pictures, it seems to be that natural chaos right now that's going to be balanced as soon as order comes back into being. But prayers all around, because it's very scary, and we're all too familiar. I mean, in California, from the burning to earthquakes to, there's so many things. So, and I didn't even mean to go there, but I'm going to go there anyway. While I accept that the planet has its natural cycle and that these things and all the changes over time are natural, what I absolutely know is that the human effect on the planet from the choices that we've made, certainly the agribusiness of farming and, animals, and all the CO2 emissions from animal waste and multiplying animals at a rate that nature could never provide, no offense to nature, that all of those things have most certainly affected the planet and the tear in the ozone layer and all those things. And that's human. Let's be fair. When humans are gone, and I can't even think about that, because even like my sixth graders, it would scare me to death. I don't care that it says 22 trillion years from now. But when humans are gone, the earth will absolutely recycle and rebuild and be lovely all on its own. So anyway, it's that yin and yang of trying to find chaos and order. So then it says every phase, because again, things come in cycles, of an energetic structure's potential has a point of balance. You've become your best self at some point, several points. It may be your best self in the day. It may be your best self in the year. It may be, they say biblically that in heaven we receive our best body. And we will recognize each other in bodily form. So even if you go to heaven old, or you go to heaven broken, or sickly or whatever, you have a restored best body, your fullest potential. They say that God loves us not as we are, but as our fullest potential. So there's a balance at some point. It's an amazing, energetic, and alchemical process that sustains the rhythm of that process. Because remember, everything's constant motion. So how can it be sustained? In that moment when all things align, and we'll say the stars or the planets all aligned, there's a moment of perfect balance. And again, you might feel that in your day. You may feel that in a moment of clarity, a moment of peace, that is that moment of balance. So it says there afterwards comes into play an inherent, it means inevitable, chaotic node within every structure that breaks that structure apart and moves the elements into a more expansive structure. Then here comes that point again wherein that structure has achieved perfect balance within the phase of itself and potential for the perfect amount of time again. So life has a rhythm. And I think the sooner we accept that rhythm, the sooner we'll be at peace when things are chaos rather than order. And again, I'm talking to myself, but just sharing. So it says balance is suspended tension of a principle, thought, construct, or form. When working with the physical body, one can learn how to balance degrees of tension and degrees of relaxation. Eventually, the chaotic node again activates to break apart the structure and lure the elements of the structure into a largely potentiality of itself to once again rest there as an expression of that phase. It's all a phase. Like, I don't need to freak on myself when things are imbalanced. I need to know that I always want the goal of evolving towards order, evolving towards greatest potential, but that the chaos of a moment that throws me off balance is okay. I think when it becomes too extreme is my experience as a child. There were a ton of things I couldn't control. There was addiction in my family. There were 13 people in one household, all 1 year apart. My parents were essentially children. My mom was 33 when she had her 11th child, which was me. My dad was only 35. So they were trying to find their way, right? So there were a lot of things that I couldn't control, and I never knew. Like, I'd be sick to my stomach a lot of days going home from school, not in fear per se, but just not in knowing what to expect. And in the best case scenario, I'm a person who likes order. I'm a person who wants a sense of what is coming, and I couldn't have any of that. It was like being on a rocky boat, and I was raised on boats, so I always knew that there's a potential for seasickness and craziness, and that was coming all the time. Well, the problem is when I got older and there was quiet, I didn't know what to do with it. So I created my own chaos because I didn't know how to sit in order. It wasn't something I was accustomed to. I've come a long way. But some days when you see my classroom and we are partying and everyone's loud and people go in and just go, wait a minute. And crazy enough, I was able, with all those children and all the noise and all the friends in the house and my parents always setting the table for 3 extra in case someone arrived, which was so lovely, I could sit and read a book in the midst of all of that. So sometimes when my classroom is seemingly out of control, I am super calm because that's normal for me. And then I have to watch that. Okay, so it says, this is a powerful aspect within the organic structure of all phases of our world and lives, from microcosm to macrocosm. So the in and the out. Organic structures are bound by this universal law. And here's a quote, and again, I hope you'll take a moment for this, but I'm just sharing. The statistical probability, so if you're doing statistics and actually counting when this might occur, the statistical probability that organic structures and the most precisely harmonized reactions that typify living organisms would be generated by accident is 0. And this is a Nobel Peace Prize winner of chemistry. That is just God right there. That is God just going, really, people? You think you're here by accident? You think you're here by chance? Are you kidding me? Do you know how many nights I stayed up creating a plan for you humans? Do you know how many hours of sleeplessness I lost trying to decide like how you should be and how to interact? Is he the best? Okay. A thing's greater balance may be some point mean a synergy. And that's all in place with another structure which enhances the potentiality of both. You know, when you're just at peace with someone, I meet people in my life sometimes and it's effortless. We are just complete synergy. Like my sister Glynis and I, we don't even need to talk because we just so get it. And she's just one of my siblings and I love them all, but there's something about us where we just get it. You know, I have a friend who's a social media personality, and I've been blessed enough to interact with them, and I would not even need to talk. I remember as a little girl, there were some people in my life. There was a couple of teachers. My 6th grade teacher, it was like that. My 4th grade teacher was like that. I had a 7th grade teacher, very brief, but she was instrumental in my life. Sister Judith, an actual nun, Sister Judith. Like, there's been some people in my walk. Oh, God, Dr. Nancy Briggs, my college professor, where there's just synergy. We just get it. The energy is just on the same plane, and we can just sit and enjoy each other's presence. I love that. All right, so it says, after which they may both be changed forever from their original design or principle to embrace an even greater potential. Oh my gosh, like I so love that. I can only see it as spiritual, but it's so true. When you meet somebody, and this can happen anywhere. It happens on the street for me. It happens everywhere. It can be a little tiny baby just hanging out with a 2-year-old. It can be a 95-year-old, grandpa. It can be anywhere, but in that moment, you both know you were changed. Is that the best? Oh my gosh, I really love this article. This principle is at work in our lives, communities, and world. Balance is consciousness, which is the one exception I mentioned earlier, is a potential reached in which one is poised within knowing of a self beyond all movement, phases, and change of form. It is an awareness so pristine, total clarity, right? There is nothing more to balance. I'm giggling and blushing because I've experienced this, and it's powerful. Balance must be achieved between more than one element. When there is only one, the concept of balance is transformed. You know, I love that. Balance must be achieved between more than one element. You can't, duh. You think you're sitting in a room by yourself and decide that you're balanced? You think? You're all by yourself. There's nothing to challenge you. There's nothing to compare. When you have one or more energies, that's the magic. I so get that. When I am insanity party of one, your table's ready, and nobody is debating me, and I don't have to measure myself against anything, of course, I think I have balance. But what's the joy in that? So it says the entire universe is driven by the will to achieve greater potentiality via the balance that chaos and order bring. A person's life may seem wholly chaotic, like my classroom, sometimes, but this is merely movement towards the person embracing a greater balance in some aspect. If you never take a risk, of course you're not going to risk getting off balance, right? When I was doing my master's and even my 1 year of my doctorate in the middle of the night, and I was getting all that knowledge, and I was cranking out the papers, and I was losing sleep, and people were like, why? Oh my gosh, she's crazy. The amount of growth and joy was exponential. It was amazing. That imbalance in that moment was exactly what I needed to grow, and it was fabulous. So it says, if I may digress, which means go back for one moment, appearances therefore can be very deceiving. That's another reason judgment is a failed concept. What we observe with our limited knowledge in human form is only a fragment of the process of order and chaos in anyone's life. It is the whole picture that crystallizes the genius of a life. That just makes me want to cry because it's so beautiful. And this is all from a scientific view. And you know I'm a God person, but God created science, right? That is just a total reminder again that we have to be so accepting of one another. So let's go back. Appearances therefore can be deceiving. That is another reason judgment is a failed concept. What we observe with our limited knowledge in human form is only a fragment of the process of order and chaos in anyone's life. It is the whole picture that crystallizes the genius of a life. Would that it be true. So merciful and lovely. Premature conclusions of ourselves and others based upon partial or no knowledge about how the laws of the universe work is rampant in this world. Believing one can measure the entire world of a human being or their lifestyle by any phase of their life is a self-indulgent delusion. That's like a really polite way of putting someone down. Believing one can measure the entire worth of a human being or their lifestyle by any phase of their life is a self-indulgent delusion. You are delusional, man. Bottom line, I agree. There must be balance in all things within the creation, but there must also be the vision to comprehend that what we may think is an unbalance or chaos may be in truth movement towards greater balance. I hope you got something out of that. It's a gift to me to even read this because, of course, God just gave me this article. I pulled up any article I could find on balance, and there were many, but I chose this one, and it's God just saying, you know what? You are exactly where you need to be. And when things get rocky, and when you're feeling seasick, and when things seem out of balance, trust that that is a chance for growth and just to evolve more. And it is. That's that grace of learning from every experience. Whew. All right, my friends. Of course, I'll include that in the description of this video. Like if you like. Join us if you haven't. Let me know if balance is something that you're also considering evaluating in your life. And if this gave you some approval. I love it. Until we talk again, my friends, know that I pray for you. And best of all, trust that you're blessed.